20 minutes past 7 here on the Radio Wammo Breakfast. Time to talk high tech early this morning with Paul Brislen, joining us from an airport.
The airport.
Near you.
It's all right, I found a quiet spot.
Oh, good.
Potentially. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yes.
Let's dive into the biggest topic for tech news locally this week was the launch of a new ISP onto the market, FYX or FYX, as the kids call it.
Is in. That's right. Yep. And the interesting thing about this is not just the price point, which is a pay-as-you-go 34 cents per gigabyte, which is a nice change from international roaming rates, which is $20,000 per gigabyte. But 34 cents, there's not much of a problem there. But the other side of the game is that they've got this model of setting up a global DNS service. And what that means is that when you log on to an American server, the server thinks you're in America. And when you log on to a British server, the server thinks you're in Britain. And, there are a range of things you could do with such a service, not least of which is get around all this stupid, pointless regionalization of content. And the days of seeing, I'm sorry, Netflix is not available in your region, I'm sorry, the BBC iPlayer will not work in your region, are rapidly coming to a close.
Okay, so basically, it's taking all the geekery out of doing this yourself.
Yep.
Lord knows why I've been trying to do this myself for the past couple of years, when I could just now use this ISP and it'll do it all automatically
that's right,
for
and
me.
it just does it all for you.
So
exactly.
It takes it to the mainstream, does it?
Well, it really does, because as you say, you've been able to do this kind of thing for a while. I mean, secure VPNs, changing DNS settings. There are all kinds of different services that you can subscribe to out there. And the thing that's always put me off from all of them is they tend to be run by Uzbeki pornographers, as far as I can tell, who want to ship money around the world and not pay income tax and nefarious purposes of this kind. And this kind of service from an ISP seems to be a lot more straight up and down. Well, it's still not fully legal, though, is it?
Right. Well, is it or isn't it? I mean, they wouldn't be doing it if it was illegal.
Well, there's legal and there's legal, I've discovered. And the beauty of this scheme is that all they're doing is giving you access to the internet. At no point do they say so that you can go and watch television in places you're not supposed to.
They're the middleman. They're the Kim.com.
They are the Kim.com. They are just simply sitting there. I'm sure John Hanna, the boss at MaxNet, who owns FYX, will be sitting there sweating bullets waiting for the police to come swinging in through his bathroom window.
Yeah.
The beauty of it is that all they're doing is providing internet access in as pure a form as you would hope for.
But they're suggesting that you might want to use this service if you're keen on overseas content like the iPlayer.
Well, they I don't think they've named any names.
They haven't named it, but hang on.
They haven't, but I have. And
yes.
I think it's ideal for that kind of thing, because...
but they're insinuating.
They are suggesting there are things you could do with the service that they don't want to get into.
Now,
and quite rightly, we've already said ISPs have no place trying to decide what you can and can't look at. That's well enshrined in the approach to these kinds of laws here in New Zealand. And certainly when you get down to the Copyright Act, it says you're not allowed to try to circumvent any technological protection measures that might be put in place.
Right.
So if you buy a movie on a DVD and it says we have put in place certain technical protection measures to make sure you can't copy this, and you then find a way around it and copy it, you're breaking the law. But that section of the Copyright Act explicitly excludes changing the DNS. So it's sitting there.
Excludes
and it says, don't you worry about it. It excludes it. It says that is not circumventing a technological protection measure. It is merely a way of routing things around the internet. And so from that point of view, you'd have to say FYX is pretty sweet. They're sitting there quite happily. They're not breaking any laws at all in New Zealand.
Now, now this is getting a little bit technical, and of course, I think the service is great. But in the interests of good journalism,
you try and knock holes in it, because I've been trying as well to figure out. I mean, it is. You're still going to be breaching the terms and conditions of these services, aren't you?
But what I asked them was, so. Because they were saying, so if you want to view a particular site, a site in Britain, then then perhaps you'll be able to do that. So I said, well, okay, so is that if you hit any site in Britain? And they said, no, it will be particular sites basically, right? And I said, so therefore, they've already got a predetermined, so you can take from that, they've already got a predetermined list there at FYX.
Of what they will be able to access. No, I think what they were referring to there, and I'm not sure, but I think that refers to their involvement with the Department of Internal Affairs anti-objectionable material filter. So some sites are already locked out. So it may be a British site and it's just excluded. You can't get
No. So let's just say, so I visit The Guardian, right? They're not saying this, but if I visit The Guardian, it'll probably say that I'm coming from New Zealand. However, if I visit the BBC iPlayer, that'll probably be on their list.
So I wonder how that works. I wonder if that then is, it's looking for something in the code of the website that says, I care about regionalisation, because the Guardian website doesn't. It doesn't care at all whether you're coming from New Zealand or not. The server that's serving up the ads is a separate server. It says, "Ha, you're from New Zealand. I shall serve up New Zealand ads." But that's a different matter. For the BBC iPlayer, the first thing it does is check your DNS settings and say, "Are you in Britain or not?" Oh, you're not, right, you can't watch this.
Okay.
So that must be how that works.
Here was my message to them. As I said, so a user accessing any site based in the UK will have a UK IP address, ? Or a list of sites that FYX has drawn up. FYX returned said, you won't need to do anything. It all happens in the background, non-techie friendly. Then I said...
That's not even an answer.
So when using So when using their global mode, how does a user select what country they want to be in? Is there a gateway page at FYX to select UK or US? They came back and said, not all traffic to the UK we bother to intervene on, just stuff we need to.
Oh, okay. So they are manually configuring it.
They are, obviously.
Yeah. But even so, under the Copyright Act, that's still not a breach of the Act. But it does breach the terms and conditions for all of those services you might sign up for, like the iPlayer or Netflix or Hulu or whatever.
Doesn't it take away their neutrality in this situation? Because they're saying, you might want to, we're not sure what you want to do with it, when they actually do know what you want to do with it.
Well, that does shoot a bit of a hole in that foot, doesn't it? Because you should be as completely neutral as possible. What you want is some kind of global DNS server that just sits there and gets in between every single transaction that you're doing. And in that case, you would need a, much like Tunnel Bear, which says, do you want to be a Brit today or do you want to be an American? I think I'll be English, thanks. Righto, off you go, sonny. That's exactly the sort of thing you would be expecting, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
very interesting.
They are selecting certain sites. And as I say, I've got nothing against this, but
no.
It would be an interesting test in court.
Well, but I don't know that it will be FYX that gets taken to court, because, as I say, even at that level, under the Copyright Act, it's not a problem. What is a problem is that the companies that you may wish to sign up for, and we use Netflix as an idea. Netflix says in its terms and conditions, you must be living in the United States in order to access this service. Now, by saying, yes, I am to that, you're actually you're breaching their terms and conditions. I wonder if that isn't on par with some kind of contractual fraud. And I imagine what will happen is the rights holders will go to these organizations, Netflix, Hulu, whoever else gets set up, and say, you make very certain that these people are Americans. They've got to be using American DNS. They've got to be using American credit cards and all the rest of it. Hulu's already started down that track.
Yes.
But you make sure that they are actually legally allowed to view this content, or we'll shut down your service.
Yeah, it's interesting that hasn't happened to Netflix.
Yeah, that's right. And Netflix, I mean, the problem there is that Netflix and Hulu and all the others are predicated on earning money for their rights holders. So they will be quite happily signing up everybody they can, I'm sure. And if they add 4 million extra customers from New Zealand, well, hey, it's a good day.
Yeah.
What it says to me is that this is the start of the end of the whole regionalization of content. That you can watch something over here, but I'm over there and I can't watch it because I'm in a different place. That just goes out the window. And from this point on, I would expect that New Zealand customers would be able to pay for the sort of content we've been complaining about not having access to for a very long time now. And that is, it's quite an interesting turning point. There are certainly a lot of fishhooks in there, and not everybody will want to sign up for this. But I do think it's the writing on the wall for some of these content providers thinking that they can just put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be interesting to see if another ISP follows as well, as you say.
Well, that's right. And there is chatter about a couple of, maybe one or two of the bigger ISPs having a crack at this. Telstra Clear has been very bullish on the whole content debacle. Alan Freeth is a passionate advocate of the right to, actually pay people for the content that they produce, and I couldn't agree more with him. I think it's vile that I have to become a criminal in order to watch television, whereas I've got money and I want to pay somebody for it, but they won't let me. They don't want my money.
Yeah,
that's just stupid.
And just on that note, before we go, Game of Thrones on track to be one of the most pirated TV shows of all time, and
one of the most successful.
But HBO only have themselves to blame for that situation,
don't they? I mean, making it more difficult for people to watch it legitimately just criminalises it. So, yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Paul,
fun games.
You've got a plane to catch. Thanks very much for your time this morning.
No worries. Thanks for that.
Twitter.com/Paul Brislen. Of course, he's also the head of the Telecommunications Users Association of New Zealand as well.